Danny Segura for MMA Junkie. I'm here with Liz Carmouche, former UFC title challenger, former Strikeforce title challenger, former Bellator champion, and now 2025 PFL World Tournament champion. Liz, your list of accolades keeps growing, huh?
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah. So it's been some time from your big win, no, a couple of weeks now. Are you still riding the high? What's the feeling like a few weeks removed from becoming a world champion and adding another accolade to your career?
It's really surreal. So when I do fight camp, I go away and I'm not home for the whole extent of fight camp. So about 8 to 9 months. So one, being home, being with my family, being with all the animals, just feels like it's another world. And then like getting to see the title, thinking that everything we've been working for with me going away for 9 months finally paid off, and it feels like it's a whole different cloud that doesn't exist to me.
Yeah, it must be a crazy contrast because this tournament obviously involves a lot of time for you being away, as you mentioned. Has this the most time you've been away from your family and your world per se?
Last year's tournament and this year's tournament are about the same amount of time away from home.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't know with the season, if it extends it. Yeah, how has that been like? I saw your Instagram post, and you made sure to state that right away before kind of soaking into the victory. But I'm sure it wasn't easy. But I'm guessing now with a title, with $500,000 check on top of that, it was all worth it, right?
Yeah, it's definitely difficult being away, especially because 9 months of like a child's life. I come back and my son's almost a year older. He's a whole new person. He's developed these habits, got to different sports, new friends, and I'm just like thrown into the mix. Like I have no idea what's going on. But to have him there and to be able to, he got to experience it. He got to be cage side, come into the cage when I got the belt. That was really rewarding. And then just to see his excitement and how much this is turning his life in a positive way, it definitely all seems worth it.
Yeah, for sure. And I gotta ask you, like, as I mentioned at the beginning, like you've achieved so much, right? You fought for the UFC title two different times in two different weight classes. You won the Bellator title. You defended it multiple times, and now you win this tournament. Where would you rank this win among all the other like top quality wins that you've had in your career?
This one is definitely up there. I want to say the winning the Bellator belt was originally like the biggest achievement. But I think for some reason, the PFL kind of ranks above that. For one, because I'm not walking out of that cage and immediately being told, like, hey, by the way, that fight's in question. You may not actually be the champion. There's a lot of controversy. There's no controversy coming out of this.
Mhm.
And my son could understand it better. So we could kind of share this experience together. And then when you're gone for 9 months, as opposed to like a 3-month fight camp, finally having that achievement and being able to bear it in your hands just means so much more.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was awesome to watch. Like your longevity in this sport is crazy. Like you see some of the ladies that you've been competing with at the start of your career to now. I mean, most of them are all gone. I mean, shout out to Misha Tate. She's been around and she's kind of, still fighting, but she's not that active anymore. She's not
Yeah.
winning a world title like you are. Are you surprised that you're still not only fighting this deep into your career, but like you're at the top of the game. You're at the top of the food chain.
Yeah, of course, it's a little bit surprising because there's so much evolution in the sport. And some of the people I'm now competing with, they've been doing multiple martial arts since they were young children, right? Like that's the crazy thing is I've been in the sport for 16 years. So the people that are like 4 or 5 and they started getting into jujitsu and getting into wrestling, they're now the adults I'm competing against. So they've been doing it just as long as I have, but they have the benefit of like as a kid, you're a sponge for information. You can learn it so much easier and quicker, and your body's so healthy that they kind of have a huge advantage over me. So it's crazy to think that the only other female that I can think is still so active is Chris Cyborg, and like
Yes.
that's somebody I looked up to for so long.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, now you guys are in the same promotion now. Has she reached out, by the way, or anything, just to congratulate you or anything like that?
Yeah, I think that we do a pretty good job of. I got to know her a little bit in the UFC.
Mhm.
Really like her as a person. And of course, like I said, I was a huge fan. Like she's who I watched before I started fighting and I started
Yeah.
training. So we got to build a little bit of a relationship. She's invited me to come out to come train with her, and I think I'm going to take her up on that offer just because there's so much to learn from, and that she would think that I'm worthy of being able to train with her means a lot. So I definitely have to take advantage of it.
Yeah, totally. That'd be nice to see. And I don't know if you saw it. Not long after your win, there was a UFC event, 319, and you got a shout out on the broadcast, and even the words PFL, the letters PFL were dropped there by Joe Rogan. Something not not often seen in a UFC broadcast. Did you see that? Did that get to you? And what would you think of Joe's shout out?
Yeah, I did. I had quite a few people tag me, and I was able to share it to my story. Really cool to see. Like you said, for cross promotion to make mention of anyone else is a big deal. And then for it to be somebody like Joe Rogan, that's an even bigger deal for him to say anything in a positive light. So I was definitely riding cloud nine on that, seeing that Joe Rogan made a shout out to me.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and that's how because you know how the UFC works. Like they don't want to really shout out other promotions. So it was awesome to see you get your flowers, because certainly like you had your history in that company, not only fighting for the belt but becoming the first woman to ever walk out to the octagon. That's pretty badass. And I gotta ask you, like, when the PFL merged with Bellator, we saw a lot of the existing champions enter that championship series, right? Like Usman didn't go into the tournament, but defends his belt. Same thing with Johnny Eblen, when he was champion. You were champion of Bellator, but you entered the tournament. So I guess what kind of happened with your belt? I don't know what the conversations were around
I'm kind of the
that.
same thing. I mean, my understanding is just that Bellator no longer exists, and we had
Yeah.
the opportunity to compete in the tournament for PFL. So that just kind of closed that chapter, right? Like it's to end as being the last Bellator champion and
Mhm.
let that be. But as far as the champion on champion series, there's still a lot of rumors going around. I suspect it'll be myself against Dakota because she won last year, right?
Yeah.
And then, or I'll also be competing against some of the other women that are like in PFL Africa and things like that.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I was just wondering about that, because I've been wanting to interview you even before this window about the tournament. So I was kind of always wondering, like, what happened to her belt? Because other belts have kind of just transitioned into PFL Championship Series
Yeah.
belts. Yeah, I was just curious about that. And so you win. You do a call for a 135 weight class, and also you showed interest in fighting Dakota. At the time, I'm like, she's having so much success at 125. Like, what? And you've made weight, no problem, at least from the outside looking in. So like, why 135? But then I read your post, and it kind of made sense. You listed some of the difficulties you had making the weight class. First of all, how's your health? Because so many consecutive fights, that's brutal. Not only the camp, so as you mentioned, the
Yeah.
weight cut. How's your health right now, and how difficult was these last few fights making it down to 125?
Yeah, it always seems like now that I've done 2 tournaments with PFL, it seems like that third fight is my body's kind of like, I don't want to cut anymore. I'm not doing this. And it's not like I'm like going out, I'm like, oh, I'm going to eat for 2 weeks straight and not train. I'm going back to training right away. I'm eating healthy. My body just has a reset weight of where it wants to be. So it means I'm having to cut every single time. So 135 would make a lot more sense because I'm not taking a lot of damage in the fights that I need to heal from. It's really just the weight cuts that are pretty brutal on my body because 125, like my lean mass, I want to say is 123. So there's
Mhm.
not a lot of wiggle room there to get down to the most sense. But if I could do some type of like champion on champion where I have a full 3 month camp or 4 month camp to get ready for it and then have a chance to heal after before I fight again with a few months, that would make a lot more sense than doing those back to back brutal weight cuts.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess moving forward, would you entertain the idea of jumping back into a tournament, at least at 125? Because it sounds like you've had difficulties fighting that consistently and making the weight.
Yeah, I think if it was a 135 weight class, my body would do a lot better with that.
Mhm.
So being able to do another tournament, I feel like I could perform my best because I'm not putting my body through that brutal weight cut. And I'm used to being able to train. I'm usually back to the gym 6 a.m. the next morning after the fight. And I have to be
Yeah.
told like, hey, just chill, relax, let your body heal. You don't have to get up and work, but there's just a desire to do that in me. So as far as like the back-to-back camps, it's on issues, really just the weight. So 135, I think would make the most sense, and I could perform even better than I have been doing at 125.
Because the other route, now that PFL is operating with both the tournament and the championship series, you can just defend your belt, right?
Yeah.
And fight for the belt and have those sort of big fights. You don't have to dive into a tournament. Would you be interested in just doing that and getting the appropriate time to you know, get down a weight class and be able to stick to 125?
Yeah, I'd be okay with that too. Like doing like the super
Mhm.
fights, the champion series, defending the belt. I would like to do that where it's like 2 fights a year.
Yeah.
So that way I could come home, hang out with the family, reset a little bit, let my body heal, and then get into another fight camp. So either defending the belt that way or the 135 tournament. Both of those circumstances make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, for sure. And when you won, you, as you mentioned, you also showed your interest in a fight with Dakota. Obviously, she's the champion of last year's
Mhm.
tournament. Um, when you won, I thought that was probably one of the best things that could happen to PFL this year, because Dakota is like running out of opponents, and obviously, you know, that's their homegrown start. And you've yet to fight her, and you're a huge name, and obviously winning a belt just, you know, brings you even more in terms of the value for the promotion. I think that's one of the biggest fights they can make. How keen are you on that fight? Is that something that you feel like it's gonna happen no matter what at some point?
I hope so. It really just depends on her health because I know she did have surgery with her hand, and the last thing
Mm.
I'd want is to have an opponent that has to rush back because there's a demand on it. I want to face the best version of her, and I know what it's like to be rushed and pushed back after you're not ready because you're healing from something. But to me, she's done so well on winning back-to-back tournaments, and I've now competed in back-to-back tournaments and won the last one. So for both of us, I think it makes the most sense to face each other, and I think that that's what the fans want to see too.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. That'd be an awesome fight. Have you been impressed with what she's been able to do?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's hard not to, right? When you see
Yeah.
somebody and they're winning, they're succeeding, they're not. It's not like she's just beating easy opponents. She just fought Sumiko. She's fought Bishop like I fought Bishop. She fought the biggest name that everybody was really anticipating to be the person to finish her. Was she finished Tyler Santos?
Hmm.
So she's shown that she's at the top for a reason. And to me, that's the type of competitor I want to face is somebody that's going to be complex. It's going to be super talented and challenge me and force me to show my best version.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be an awesome fight. And of course, it's got to be before the bell. It's got to be 5 rounds. How do you see that fight? Obviously, you can strike. We saw it at that PFL final, but you also have good wrestling, good jiu-jitsu as well. She's a little bit more one-dimensional. Obviously, a very skilled fighter as well. But I know you've yet to like prepare for her, do a whole camp and all that. But from I guess from the little or not little that you've seen, but from what you've seen so far, more or less, what do you think a fight with her looks like?
Yeah, I think it'd be a really exciting fight. Her striking, like you said, she's striking dominant, but we saw it against Bishop that she's not a chump on the ground. You're not going to finish
Mhm.
her, right? And if anyone was going to be able to do that and succeed there, it would have been Bishop. So I think that people anticipate, oh, I just want to take it to the ground, but I like challenging myself against whatever somebody's strong suit is. Like, you want to go to the ground? Like, I took Bishop to the ground. Like, that's fine. We'll go to the ground. That's your best accolade. Let's try there. Okay, you're a striker. Like, I'll try striking. So I don't, and she's even shown against the cage, like she's proficient as an MMA fighter. Yeah, kickboxing, Muay Thai, that's her strong suit. But I think that she's skilled in every way. So it's going to be fun just for us to showcase that we're martial artists and that we can bang in any area and it's not going to matter.
Yeah. You are 41, and you've achieved so much already. And I've asked you, like, did you see yourself sort of, fighting this deep into your career? But you're still looking great, by the way. Obviously, still at the top of the game. But have you wondered, like, how much longer you want to fight, and also what kind of things do you want to achieve besides, I guess, just making money? That's a big one for everyone. But what are things you want to achieve in what's remaining of your career? Obviously, a win over Dakota would be big. Anything else?
Yeah, I think that, like I said, trying to open another weight class is really big
Yeah.
for me because I've seen so much talent at 135, and I don't think that we've had an opportunity to showcase that division. I think that if for whatever reason Dakota stayed at 125, I go to 135, we can both elevate both of those weight classes and bring more notice to the females there. So I think it would make a lot of sense for us to be able to get another weight class so that we can start showing more talent because we have multiple weight classes for men. We only have one for females. And I would really like to be able to open that up to say, like, yeah, I hold a belt in 2 different weight classes, which is super cool and not
Yeah.
something I've done before. But also just to know that as I step away from it, I created more opportunities for women that weren't there before.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that'd be badass. Have you had any conversations with the PFL about that? Did they maybe even said that they liked the idea, you know, in between this, I guess, this interview and the time that you won the belt and made that shout out?
No, I was really hoping that the belt would be that opportunity to kind of have my negotiating ability.
Oh yeah.
So it's now that we're going to start getting the talks to PFL and see what the future looks like with them, because I feel like I've done everything they've asked. I have a good relationship with them, so it's really to see how we can cohesively grow together and what the future of the company means and how I fill that role in there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a big negotiation tool. And yeah,
Yeah.
as you said, like I think the ladies need another weight class, right? Or they're just kind of forced to get down to 125 or fight at 125. So yeah, that'd be nice to see. Um, and as I mentioned at the top, like you've achieved like so much, right? Like you've fought for Strikeforce, you fought for the UFC, fought for the belt twice there. You won and defended the Bellator champion, now PFL tournament champion. Um, I gotta say, like you have to be like one of the most accomplished fighters, female fighters, and also like if we're talking about pound for pound, like the greatest in history. I feel like maybe you're a little bit underrated in that conversation. Like I feel like you've achieved so much and have such a great record. Like you have to be up there. And I don't know if you've let yourself sort of um give yourself those flowers.
Yeah, no, not really. There's to some degree, I think it's really in conversations when people ask questions, like trying to explain to my son as he's taking a little bit more interest into MMA now and
Yeah.
trying to explain like all the different people and the things that I've accomplished and stuff. And he's like, wait, so you've done this, you've done that. And it's like, oh yeah, I guess I have done a lot. Like when you're caught up in the moment of just trying to evolve as much as possible, prepare for fights, you kind of lose the perspective of some of the things you've accomplished. Like I'm big on not necessarily looking in the past. It's in those conversations where I do and I go like, oh, holy crap, like maybe I should be in like the UFC Hall of Fame or something like that, or a
Yeah.
coach mentions it. And I certainly hope so. I would love if there was a UFC Hall of Fame I could be a part of. If PFL created one, I could be part of that too. That would be really awesome. Again, just to add some more accolades into things I've accomplished.
Yeah. I mean, you fought for the belt in two different weight classes, right? And like most of your career,
Mhm.
it was at bantamweight, like not in your
Yeah.
ideal weight class per se. And yet you've like were at the top of the sport. And you've been for years now. And just the fact alone that you were the first woman to ever walk out to the UFC octagon, I think that itself is Hall of Fame worthy, no matter what else happened in your career. And obviously you were top contender there and fought for the belt again. So yeah, definitely I think you're Hall of Fame worthy. When you fought in Tijuana, Mexico in 2010, did you ever envision that all this would happen?
No, not at all. And in fact, I told my coach, like entering into it, like, hey, I know I started really late in life. I don't have a background in combat sports. I'm completely green. I know nothing. I just want to see where this takes me. And if I can get an amateur fight, I know that's years down the road, great. And then before I know it, it's a few months later and I'm turning pro. Right. And it's like, definitely didn't anticipate that. And if I could have looked ahead, I would have told you you're out of your mind if you had told me that this is the route that I was going with things.
Yeah, no, and you've like your career has spanned like the history of women's MMA, which is crazy, and it's come such a long way, right? It's huge
Yeah.
now. Um, yeah, it's just crazy what you've been able to achieve, and I gotta ask you as well. Out of everything that you've done, what do you think has been the most satisfying, or what do you hold as your number one in terms of a favorite memory, favorite moment? It sounds like this was pretty special, obviously, because the family ties, but I don't know if there's something that really sticks out.
Yeah, I think the other one that really sticks out for me is when I fought for the Strikeforce title against Marlos Conan.
Yeah.
Just because I was still brand new to the sport. I was still a white belt. She was a brown belt. She'd been a Muay Thai champion. She'd been doing it for 10 years. I looked up to her and I didn't have any experience with media. I didn't have any experience with like the photo shoots, the video, anything. And I'm going in there and I'm just like, oh, hey, and they're like, yeah, you can't wear that. You can't do this. And she was so helpful in that moment. And that to me shined through of what you should expect a champion to be, because as much as we're going out there and we're going to put on a show, that doesn't mean that you have to take from the moment of somebody that's trying. Like if somebody needs help, we're in this sport to help each other. Right. Like if there's animosity, that's different. but she definitely showed me that you can still put a kind hand and put your hand out to other people. You can still elevate them without having to break them down to build yourself up. And I think that's always shown through, because just the amount of respect that I had for her and that she showed to me meant a lot, and just helped guide me in what I should do in the future.
Yeah, that was very nice of her. Yeah, because she could have easily been a dick, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, very nice. That's a good shout out. All right, Liz. Well, a pleasure talking to you. Congrats again on winning this PFL tournament. It was huge. I was very impressed with what you were able to achieve, and I'm glad that you're getting a lot of your flowers. You know, that UFC shout out on the broadcast and all that. And hopefully one day we see you in the UFC Hall of Fame. I think your career is definitely worthy. So yeah, thanks again for this interview. Best of luck. Hopefully that fight with Dakota does come through. I think it's one of the biggest fights, if not the biggest, PFL could put on today. So hopefully we see that in the future, and enjoy this time off in Tennessee chasing cattle.
Thank you.